Okay, let's review some of our assets. So I have my trim removal tools. This is going to allow me to easily pop off the trim and get inside my Trailhunter without destroying any of the aesthetics. I have some fish tape here. This is going to allow me to pull the wire through tight spaces. Over here, I've got 25 feet of zero gauge copper clad aluminum cable for our positive side. And I've got terminals and shrink wrap for that. Close to the battery, I'll be placing this 500 amp fuse. And up under the hood, I'll have this solenoid. So these are the power connectors, go from to the winch to the main power. And then over here, I'll connect the pigtail that's pre-installed in the Trailhunter that's connected to the aux buttons inside. If you don't have a TRD Pro or Trailhunter, you're going to have to install the switches in an empty bay yourself. But fortunately for me, I'll be showing you the pigtail method when we get to that spot. All right, this is where we're going to be headed in a minute. We're going to run a cable from the battery through the trim of the car up into the engine compartment. First, let's take a quick look at the boot here, which protects the cables coming into the engine compartment through the firewall. And you can see there's a little nub at the bottom there, and that's reserved for a wire to come through. We're going to be going right through that up into the engine compartment. And we're going to run right along here. And here's my solenoid. This is going to attach the WARN winch to the aux4 switch inside. I'm going to mount it right here. I'm going to move this wire down one notch, and then I'm going to use these two holes to mount the solenoid up here. And so the one side of this is the winch, the other side is the incoming power. My solenoid power on switches will connect here, and I'm going to connect them right to the pigtail, which is pre-installed in the TRD Pro, I think, and also the Trailhunter. It's right down here. You can see I already have one installed for my ditch lights. They're on the black cable here, which is aux3. I'm going to be using this green cable here for the aux4 switch, which is already installed in the cabin. Okay, so our battery is back here. And what we do is we're going to remove this piece of trim just by pulling it off. We're going to need a tool. Let's see, make sure you can see here. We're going to need a tool to get underneath this other component. I'll actually start with the screwdriver, twist, and this pops right off. And then we're going to route the cable from the battery right through this area here and into the trim along the side of the car. All right, we'll come over here to the rear seat. Our cable is going to be coming right down through here. So we just want to reach under, pull up this piece of trim. It comes up right easy with your hands. And the cable is going to run right down this channel here, designed for that purpose, behind the B pillar up to the front driver's seat. Same here, this piece of trim will just come up with pulling it with your fingers. And we can set that aside. And then, all right, and then there's a panel here. We just unscrew this by hand, put this aside, and then I'm going to take this away. Okay, and here are other cables that are running through, but you can see that they go right up through, and this is the other side of that boot with the cables going through the firewall. And in a minute, we'll just peel back the insulation a bit and we'll put our cable right through there. Just going to temporarily remove the seatbelt buckle. So I can remove this piece of trim. Just be 10% easier than forcing the snake all the way down. Alright, so we're just going to go right down here with our wire. Alright. Alright, let's just go get our wire. Okay, I'm just going to take my cable. I'm going to feed it right through here along the side of the frame. And I'm just going to grab it with my other hand and move it right into the battery compartment. Boom, there we go. Let's grab it, pull it through. All right, here we are. Let's pull it down. I'm actually just gonna move it right over here so there's no pinch points. And we're basically ready to go there. I'm just gonna push, I'm gonna actually route this down the side, right in this channel here. You see there's actually even like a convenient little channel here, right in here, all the way around, and into a little gripper here. Okay, all right, so I'm going to push this trim back in, then we'll reconnect our seatbelt. All right, just like that. Get it right underneath. All right. Here's my seatbelt. Put her back on. All right, let's just pop up the trim a little bit. Oop. Okay, so we're just going to pull this trim away and then push this right through to the other side there. Okay, I see him. Actually, can you see? I see him pointing out the other side. Sorry for those trying to watch. Alright, there he is sticking out the other side. I'm just going to grab him with a pair of pliers and pull him through. Alright, what's he stuck on here? Alright, this next part's going to be a little hard to film. It's likely going to lose focus as soon as I stick my pliers in here. But what I'm going to do here is put my pliers on this nub and then I'm gonna cut off the very edge of it, and then stick the wire through the other side. All right, so right about there, and then we're just gonna trim it right here. All right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna push right in from that. Oh, you can't see it. I'm gonna push right in through that hole there. Okay, back on the driver's side, our wire is running right up the conduit here. I'm going to grab the end. I'm going to go right up in here. So if I pull this insulation apart, right there where I'm pointing, okay, is the other side of the grommet I just cut. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to figure out how to position the camera so you can see what I'm doing, but then I'm going to push the wire right up in there. Okay, actually this is not that hard, but doing it in a way where I can film it for you is kind of nuts, because it keeps knocking the phone around or opening up Google search or something like that. Okay. All right, so I think I've pushed it up in here. I'm going to go to the other side and see if I can grab it and start pulling it through. All right, so it was a bit of a chore to get it through. There it is coming out. I actually taped it to this drill bit with some electrical tape, sprayed it with silicone, and was able to pull it through. Now I got to put the camera down again, but I'm going to keep pulling this cable. There we go. Focus. I'm going to keep, yeah, see, you got a nice tight seal around the cable, and I'll silicone that shut. The actual grommet is not airtight. So this will probably, also grommet itself is not airtight around the outside. So this will, probably be fine. But nonetheless, we went out through the little hole here that we had cut. I'm going to pull the cable up into the front, and then we'll do the next step. All right, quick survey. We've got our 0 gauge power cable positive up here. Goes right through the grommet down there. Comes right through to the battery over here, and let's put our trim back on. All right, we're back here over on the driver's side. We're going to reattach our piece of trim. He goes over the rubber here, and it's pressed right in here. Then this guy gets put back and screwed in here. Okay, just making sure all our trim is in the right place. Then we're ready to hide this guy back. Okay, all right, good as new. All right, the solenoid comes with a bunch of hardware, but the instructions are pretty clear that only the bolt or the screw and the nut are necessary to attach it. Although the black plastic clip has to remain on there to electrically isolate the solenoid from the chassis. So these other lock nuts and washers really should be, I guess, replacements or extras for the ones that are on the solenoid. I did move this wire clip from the top socket to this bottom socket. It wasn't easy, really. You gotta squeeze these from the back. I did a little bit of that with my fingers and prying it back and forth, but it's good enough to reuse. It was a little tricky to move this without really good access to the back. All right, this is a little challenging here. This one here is an M6 coarse thread. It's very difficult to get to the back. It's basically sealed up on the back. This one, I can actually get something from the back if it's long enough. So I'm actually going to start. I happen to have an M6 coarse thread handy. I'm actually going to start by securing it to this one here. Okay, so that's going to be my toe hold there, and then I'm going to go back and get another bolt and thread it from the back here. Just tightening this up in case anybody is wondering. This is a 9/16 that is on the WARN solenoid. Okay, so there is my positive side. I'm just gonna leave this slack up here for now, put a twist tie around it, and let's move on to the next step. Aux switch. Okay, before anybody freaks out, this is only temporary. To make the connections, we are going to use, this is marine gauge cable here, and we are going to use marine grade connectors, and we're going to shrink wrap them. But first, we gotta hook everything up. Alright, so that is hot side of the solenoid, then temporarily with these. Okay, this was too hard to film, plus I didn't want to just watch myself repeatedly drop the bolts, but this is marine grade wire, shrink wrapped with a connector. This is the switch for the solenoid, the ground, and the power side. The power side for me comes up here. This green wire connects to the aux4 button inside the cabin. This connector is temporary. I'll replace this with more marine grade and shrink wrapped when we're done. This is the ground side of the solenoid. Currently, this is just terminating in another unused clip. And these were 7/16 connectors. Here's my big positive lead coming here, shrink wrapped with the connector here. This is a 9/16 screw here for tightening. So the power side of the winch is going to come over on this terminal here on the other side. The power will be turned on and off by the aux4 switch in the cabin, and then this is the line. This is the line in here on this side of the solenoid, and then the ground for the winch will be another big old, probably 0 gauge wire, and I'm going to ground that someplace over here against the chassis. More to come. Brief interlude. Why does dude keep talking about marine grade? Well, I'm just using what I have, and my other car is a boat that's had a lot of electrical issues. So I'm just using what I have on hand. As long as you are using sufficient electrical gear to carry the currents we're talking about, you should be okay and don't have to worry about sealing everything up the way that I am. Although, you can, it's going to last longer. The connections aren't going to rust away as quickly, and it's going to be more solid overall. Okay, here's what's next. So we have our cable coming from the front. Here is the piece of trim that's going to go back in. I'm going to mount this 400 amp fuse underneath, and then the wire is going to connect right here on this free terminal here, run up, connect through this side. I'll bring the other side in, and then we'll connect it with a 500 amp fuse right there. Okay. I just didn't love the solution of shoving the copper stranded wire into the side of the fuse and locking it down. It didn't seem stable enough to me. It felt like it was going to fall out and fray. So I put terminal ends on the end and attached them directly to the fuse. I'll probably have to tape this cover on because it doesn't fit exactly in the clips any longer, but I actually think this is probably safer and more secure. All right, so back to normal. Got a little bit of scuff mark here that I'm gonna have to clean up. Otherwise, looks good. All right, let's check our voltage. Okay, I've got 12.28 here at the battery. Let's check it up front. Let's put one lead on our positive here, one lead to a ground. Boom, 12.28. All looking pretty good here. Actually, let's check one more thing. I'm going to put the positive lead over on this side of the solenoid and touch the ground, and I should get nothing. All right. Just kind of an ambient reading there. Okay, let's go turn on the aux 4 button, and we should get full voltage on the other side of the solenoid. All right, now we get 14.2 here. Obviously the engine's running, but looking good. So it's now turning on and off with the solenoid. Okay, so we've tied in this positive cable to this unused connector bay on our battery terminal here. This is a standard M6 nut, which I had to supply. And that pretty much wraps up our electrical work. In a minute, we're going to start the disassembly of the front bumper, and we'll be disconnecting harnesses. So we want to make sure the battery is off for that. So we'll start by disconnecting the negative. Generally, that is enough. But just to be sure and safe, we'll also disconnect the positive right after that. And then when we put it back on, we do that in reverse order. And then it's probably good to wait, 5-10 minutes for any capacitors to discharge. Probably very low risk with what we're doing, but we wouldn't want an airbag to fire if we're messing around with the electronics.